if you have no motivation, you can't motivate yourself to do things that you realize in some capacity are going to make your life better. In this video, I'm going to show you why that is, first of all, and then how to get rid of that problem once and for all. And it's actually very simple. The reason that you don't have motivation is a symptom of a bigger problem. The reason you don't have motivation is because you don't have a vision. That is, you don't have a purpose for your life. You don't have something you're driving towards. Now, when I say purpose, I'm not necessarily saying some grand transcendental purpose that's the ultimate reason that God put you on the earth to begin with. Now, I do believe that exists, that there is some reason that God put you on the earth to do something great. But I don't expect you to just figure that out overnight. When I say purpose, I mean, or vision. Vision is a better word than purpose, actually, because purpose seems like it's something grand and it's like you're going to change the world. Vision can be something a little bit smaller. So if you are stuck in your parents' basement and you don't have a job and you don't have a girlfriend and life sucks, to, just use a stereotypical example, whatever situation you're in, then to go directly from stuck in your parents' basement to being Gandhi and changing the world is probably unlikely, and you're in a state currently of a very low energy, of low vibration, and you're not going to raise to the highest vibration overnight. And I think I've talked to people that have had this problem, that they're basically lost in life. Nothing is going right, and they think that they have to find this magical vision of their transcendental purpose, and then all of a sudden then they're going to figure out what to do. But until then, they're just kind of sitting around in their parents' basement twiddling their thumbs, and it doesn't work that way. What you want is a vision of something that will make your life better in some way. So, for example, if you don't have a job, a good vision would be to have a job. And if you do have a job, but it's a crappy job, a good vision might be to have a better job. And if you have a decent job, or if you have a crappy job, and you think that your life would be better to own a business, then a vision would be to own a business, right? And when I say vision, I use that term specifically because I'm talking about what helps is if you envision it, if you have an idea of what it looks like, if you can imagine yourself in that position. Imagine how much better your life is going to be when you have that job or that business or that girlfriend or that nice house that you want, or to move to the city that you want to move to, or to be able to take the vacation that you want to take. Imagine what that's like and let that drive you. Now, there's an important caveat here in that for it to work, it has to feel attainable. So the truth is that everything is attainable, but the way that our minds are wired, oftentimes it's difficult for us to actually accept and actually believe that something is attainable if it is too far out of our reality. So if you are living in your parents' basement with zero income, to suddenly become to envision yourself as a billionaire is going to feel weird, right? It's going to feel not attainable. But if you can envision yourself as having a job, even if it's a basic job, then that feels much more attainable, probably. Now, this is very much depends on you and your specific self, and this is where you really want to use the words of the old philosopher and know thyself. You want to know how it feels when you think about a certain thing. So if you think about the car that you want, for example, or you think about the house that you want, or the job that you want, or the girlfriend that you want, and it feels bad. If it feels bad, that's probably because you are focused on the lack of it, and it doesn't feel like something that you can get. So what the best thing to do here is to focus on the thing that you want the most, and at a level where it feels good and you believe that you can have it. So if you think about how much better life is going to be when you have that job, and you think about when you have that paycheck, how you can buy your own apartment, and you can you can buy a car and you can, take girls out to dinner and whatever it is. Like I'm obviously using the example of a young guy. Whatever it is, if it feels good to you, if it feels exciting to you, then that's a good sign. If it feels depressing to you, then that means you've probably set your sights too high. Now, the truth is that the higher you set your sights, the better, as long as it feels attainable. So the truth is you can become a billionaire. Other people have done it in probably worse situations that you are in. It is doable. You can do it. But just me saying that is not going to beat it into your subconscious. So what you want to aim for is the highest thing that you can do that feels actually attainable and feels good when you think about it, right? And so you want to envision that, and then that gives you something to drive towards. Once you envision that thing, it fills you with energy, and then you start working out, okay, how exactly am I going to get to that point? And all of a sudden, once you do that, now you have motivation, because you can put your effort into doing something that is going to make your life better, right? That's what gives you motivation. If you don't have motivation, like if you have to go to a job that you don't like, for example, or if you have to do your math homework, the reason that you don't have motivation when you do those things is because you don't see any way that those things are going to make your life better. The payoff is not worth the effort in your mind. Now, the payoff may be worth the effort, and it may be worth the effort in a negative way, right? Like if you don't do your job, then you're not going to be able to pay your bills and you're going to get kicked out of your house and live on the street. That's a motivation, but it's not a type of motivation that gives you energy. It's a type of motivation that you do the work grudgingly. So a big problem for a lot of us, and myself included, is if you go to college and you go to school in general. You go to school and you have this goal that's basically consuming your existence, which is to get through school. It's just to graduate. It's just pass all your tests, graduate from school, and then, what happens after that? You've graduated, and then, what's next? Now you don't have a goal anymore. So you have to create another goal to supplant it. And for a lot of people, the only thing they can think of is to go back to school, right? They leave the one school, and then, now my life is empty. I don't have anything to move towards. And so they go to another school. And you see people do that all the way up to like PhD. And, okay, now I have a PhD. I have the highest level of school. Now what? And then they become a professor. Is it really because what they dreamed of their whole life was to become a professor? Is that what they wanted? Is that what they were motivated to? Probably not. It's just because they need something, and that's kind of what they're used to, and so they do the same thing. For me, I knew I definitely didn't want to be a professor. So when I graduated from college, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was pretty happy during college because I had something to work towards. I was working towards graduating from college. And then as soon as I graduated, then all of a sudden I didn't have anything anymore. And I hadn't figured that out while I was at college, which I probably should have done, but college doesn't teach you how to do that. In fact, college, I think for the majority of people is kind of a waste. It's like it feels good at the time because you feel like you're productive. You feel like you're doing something because you're focused on a goal. Your goal is to graduate from college. But it's not a very good goal because it doesn't really help you with anything else. Again, unless you have built this into a bigger goal in your life, like you want to be a doctor and you need to go to college in order to be a doctor. But for most of us, like I went to college for economics. Why did I choose economics? Well, because I liked it. But I had absolutely no idea what I actually wanted to do with it. So I got done with that, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of stuck, right? And so but during that time though, during the time that I was in college, I felt good because I felt motivated because I had something to work towards. So, if you don't have some kind of grand goal for how you're going to change the world, then find some small goal. My goal is just to have a house of my own or an apartment of my own. My goal is something small, and I can envision how much better my life is going to be as a result of having that goal. That's going to give you the motivation up until the point where you reach that goal. Right? And then once you have reached that goal, then you need to figure out something else. But the difference between your current state of having no motivation and the state of having just reached a goal is that now you have momentum. You have proven that you are capable of achieving something. You have just achieved something. You are in movement, and it's much easier from that point for you to achieve something else. So, at that point, the key is that you don't just sit there and like rest and enjoy your accomplishment for the next month. I mean, you can do it for a day or two maybe, but you got to put a new goal in there, or else you're just gonna fall into lack of motivation and depression. So this is actually pretty easy to do once you really get started. Once you have something in mind, like you're going to get your own apartment, for example, and you reach that goal, then it's pretty easy to have the next goal lined up and ready to go. So for me, where I am right now, I mean, I've accomplished a lot compared to, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, like there's a lot of people who have accomplished more than me, but you know, I make considerably more money than most people. I am married, I have a house, I have a pretty good life. I'm in good physical shape. But there are goals that I'm still going towards, right? There's always a bigger goal, and on the way to that goal is when you kind of start to get the outline of your highest goal. As you start going for those little goals, then you start to realize along the way the things that are bigger, the bigger God-given spiritual goals that you can do to help the world. So for me, for example, one of the most obvious things is that once I accomplish something for myself, then I think, well, how can I help others to have the same thing? And so I've done that with a lot of things. Like I got one of my first accomplishments in the career was I had a job that paid $38,000 a year, which is peanuts even back then when the dollar was worth like twice what it is now after Biden inflation. But I jumped from that into, I had that job for less than a year, taught myself some skills, and then was able to get a job as a data analyst making $70,000 a year. So that was almost double my income. I managed to make that jump in less than a year. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud of myself. And so eventually I turned around and said, hey, what if I just teach other people how to do exactly that same thing that I just did? And I created a course and a coaching program around it and turned it into a business. Now, that business made me probably $500,000, which was, big money for me compared to, it's not compared to a lot of people, but to me, that was a lot of money. And so I started teaching other people how they could use the accomplishments that they've had in their life, teach other people, and turn that into a business. So like everything that you create, you can turn around and teach other people how to do. I'm not saying that's the right thing for you. It's not right for everybody, but it's something that gives me a lot of satisfaction, and it makes me a lot of money at the same time, actually. So the point is, though, that as you chase these smaller goals, then the bigger goals start to come into focus. The higher level goals start to come into focus. And the real key is that you never stop. You're never done. You're never like, okay, I've accomplished everything. I'm just going to sit around and just travel and go on cruises and sit on the beach and drink margaritas. Like, it doesn't work that way. And if you try to do that, then you're just going to find yourself in the same situation that you started. You might have a lot of money, but you're just going to be depressed and unmotivated. So just always have something, always have a vision, some higher vision for a better life for yourself and or a better world around you. And that will keep you motivated forever, and it will never fail you.